Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my reading vlog for the last week of Pride Month. And I have already finished a book that is The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag. And this is a graphic novel about a Selkie romance. And it's really sweet, has some environmentalism, has some stuff about coming out and trying to avoid being who you are to fit in with your friends. Yeah, it was really cute. I really loved the illustration style and it was really sweet and adorable and sapphic. Then I was looking at the Queer Lit Readathon prompts. I figured out that to have a blackout except for the group reads prompt, which I've already read both of the group reads fairly recently, I just need to read Other Ever Afters, which is a collection of short stories that are folklore-y, that are like fairy tales. And when I opened it up, I realized that it is also a graphic novel, so that's gonna make it really easy to finish off the blast of the prompts. So I've got a few other reads still planned, and we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna take this with me to read while I dog sit for a while. This dog I don't have to stay overnight with, so that's really nice, but I spend several hours with him during the day. So I finished Other Ever Afters and I really enjoyed it. The illustrations are really cute. They're done in colored pencil, so there's a lot of pastelness. Some of them are retellings of stories we already know, and some of them are totally new stories, and they're all very different from the original ideas, and I really love them. They're very queer and they're very socialist and anarchist, and I really like them. 5 stars. I also read the sequel to Prince and Knight, which is Tale of the Shadow King, which is about them having a problem where there's shadows across the land, and then there's some monsters they have to fight, and ultimately it's really very sweet, but also has a bit of action in it, which is fun, and I think little kids will really enjoy, so another 5 stars. And then I went to the library and picked up some books that I'm planning on reading next month for Thor Wants Another Letters readathon. I can't remember the name right now, but it's about reading Indigenous lit. I picked up Summer of Bitter and Sweet and Kapamahu, which I found on my library's Pride collection, and it is about queer Indigenous Hawaiians. And one of the prompts is to read a picture book, I think. And then from what I already have checked out, we have Walking in Two Worlds, which I've already started and I'm like a third of the way through, A Broken Blade, and The Woman in the Woods and Other North American Stories. I love the cover for this one. So that's what I'm planning on doing next month. I'm also planning on taking part in the plus size readathon, so I might talk a little bit about my TBR for that, but I will definitely link both of these readathons below so you can check them out and decide if you want to take part for July. It's Sunday and I'd like to do a currently reading update, but first I'd like to just appreciate how well these earrings go with this tunic thing. They were bought separately, but I noticed today that they are like the same dusty peachy pink color, so I really like that. So I'm currently reading Icebreaker for the disability queer books bingo, because the main character has depression and anxiety, and I think the rep of that is really good. I really wish he would go to the doctor and get some medication, but he has made some friends with depression, so that's really good to see, because I find it is really helpful to talk to other people and like share your similar experiences. And the romance is pretty cute. I don't like sports very much, and hockey is my second least favorite sport after football because of the violence inherent in it, in the way it's played, and that has come up in this book. I don't think people get as many concussions in hockey as they do in football, but it's not great, and so it's talked a little bit about that violence and that the main character has been engaging in that, and so I'm kind of like, I don't like this. But I like everything else about it.
yeah, the cuteness level is very high. Then I'm also currently reading Silvered Serpents, which is the second book in the Gilded Wolves trilogy. I'm not sure if that's actually what the trilogy is called. I read the first book quite a while ago, and I was wondering if my taste had changed since then, because I really loved the first one and I was having a hard time with this one. But no, the main character, there are kind of 4 main characters who are all perspective characters, and one of them is bi. But the leader of the little group, Saron, is being really annoying in this book. He's been through a lot of trauma in the last book, but so has everyone else. And he's being really mean to these really sweet people, and it's bothering me a lot. Trauma is a reason to be a jerk. It's not an excuse. And he better grovel at some point. Yeah, I really love the other characters. Layla is a super kind person, and Zofia is autistic, and I really love her perspective pieces because it resonates with me a lot. And the plot is okay. I like the whole riddle solving thing, where they're treasure hunters and they're trying to find treasure that has been hidden, and people use riddles to hide it and make it still findable, and I kind of enjoy that. But yeah, the best part of the Gilded Wolves was the found family between all the characters, and Saron being a giant jerk kind of messes that up. So I'm hoping that he will be less of a giant jerk in the 3rd book. So I finished The Silvered Serpents by Roshani Chokshi, and it is one of those trilogies where you have to wait till the end of the last book for there to be any satisfying conclusion. Not just like a whole big conclusion, but for there not to be a full-on cliffhanger at the end of the book. That's kind of annoying. Didn't really like the ending of The Silvered Serpents. There were some satisfying things that were happening, but overall, I think I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. And then I was reading the reviews of the next book, Bronzed Beasts, and vague spoilers for the end of the series. It sounds like a lot of people were unimpressed with the ending to the series, so I decided I would skip to the end of the 3rd book and listen to the last like hour and a half of it, so that if it's a bad ending, I don't waste my time on the whole rest of the book. And in fact, I was very unimpressed with the ending, so I'm gonna find a different audiobook to finish out this month with. So it's Wednesday, I'm dog sitting. I've been dog sitting for a whole week, and I'm still having trouble figuring out what the best schedule for this dog is. Here he is. Oh, hi. Yeah, that's Luxray. And I'm going to talk about his potty schedule for a bit. So if you don't want to hear about that, skip to the time code on the screen. He likes to hold on to his bladder on the off chance that I will take him on a walk and let him pee on the neighbor's yard, because he likes to mark his territory, which he thinks is everywhere. I don't want to do that because it's rude to let your dog go on other people's yards because it creates yellow spots in the grass. So he has to really have to go before he'll go in his own backyard. And I also have his meal schedule to work around. So he gets fed at 9 in the morning and somewhere around 7 in the evening. So if I let him go at 9 in the morning, I'll probably come back and visit him in the afternoon. But if I let him go then, he won't go all the rest of the day. So then he would have to wait all the way till 9 a.m. the next morning, which is too long. So I need him to at least go at like his dinner time. But then is that too long? That's 11 to 12 hours from his morning go, but it makes its overnight less long because he will only go twice a day in his own backyard. So basically I'm puzzling over this and kind of experimenting to see what the best option is. I figured out finally what he will and won't do after a week of dog sitting. Started reading another book and finished another book, which is Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly, who is the author of one of the books I read for the Trans Rights Readathon. And this is about two gay people. One of them is autistic, and so I found this on a list of books that have disabled and queer characters. And so I absolutely loved it. It took very little time to get into. I have always lived in the Pacific Northwest, and this is a bit of a love letter to the West Coast of the US, and specifically the Pacific Northwest. It is about hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, which a friend of mine hiked part of, and I have never considered hiking. The longest hike I could possibly take, would consider taking, is the Wonderland Trail, which goes around Mount Rainier, which is my favorite mountain, and which includes some of my favorite trails. We go there every year. Also, there's a place mentioned in here that's, that I also go to every year on the way to the beach. So yeah, it was really precious to see all these places that I know and have them hiking through California, but talking about places in Washington. I love hiking. I can't do it very much because my body is disabled. I have chronic fatigue and a connective tissue disorder, but my body feels the best when I'm hiking in the mountains. Something about that relaxes me and lets all the tension go, which is a source of a lot of the pain in my body. So yeah, I really loved a lot about this. I also felt very attached to the characters, especially Alexi, the autistic character, but I also loved Ben and I loved their dynamic. And I haven't felt so emotional about a romance in a long time, and as I was thinking about what I was going to say about this, I realized that the last time I felt this emotional about a romance would have been the last time I read a romance with an autistic character, which would have been probably Eve Brown. Yeah, it was really precious and sweet, and like some of the things that Alexi did are like the exact ways that I would have reacted in that situation. And there's a nice long epilogue. And I love a nice long epilogue, especially in a romance that tends to end right when things are resolved. So yeah, I really appreciate long epilogues in any story where I care about the characters. So definitely 5 stars, and I'm definitely gonna keep reading books by this author. It's the final June garden update. This tomato is finally ripening. Moss roses are blooming. Fairy garden is being taken over by this massive miniature daisy plant. Here's the little bridge and the little buds that I took off this. This one I think is still alive. This one shriveled up and died. The plums got so heavy for this poor tree, even after they were thinned out, that my dad had to put all these sticks to support the little tree. The raspberries have been mostly harvested. The corn has headed out. So I've dug trenches to put the water in so they don't get the other definition of smut. The gourds have flowered, are currently flowering, and so are the beans. So I finished Icebreaker. I still don't like hockey, but I really liked how the main character emphasized his sister's accomplishments and how people don't pay attention to women's sports even though the women are very accomplished. And I really liked the depression rep, where that ended up going. I really ended up enjoying the romance, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. So I'm gonna make that the end of the vlog. It is only Thursday and tomorrow is the 30th, but I don't think I'm gonna finish anything else or do anything interesting tomorrow. So I'm gonna end it here so I have an extra day to edit, and then I will be seeing you next month. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!